register Sibco identity.
Hello and welcome back to another exciting installment of L1011 Widebody reads the Archive Holo-Projector because it's there. All the mechs you could shake a warrior at, or something. Where did we leave off? We read the personalities. Let's go to technology. The modern Battlemech. How does she work? Wolfnet archive file 99213 PTY 5P22/0/4. Yes, I'm going to read every single word because it's there, okay? A lot of people put some, well, maybe not. A few people put some, a few people, never have we given so much to so few, never mind. Some people worked very hard to write all this fluff text, and I shall read it because it is here. The modern Battlemech, the modern Battlemech, the modern Battlemech is perhaps the most complex machine ever produced. Each mech contains thousands of different components, far too many to explain here, and only 52 critical slots. But exploring the systems and the capabilities of Battlemechs is a great way to start getting to know these marvelous machines. Learning about Battlemechs is a great way to learn about Battlemechs, is what that sentence says. How about that? I wouldn't have thought of that myself. Skeleton. Every Battlemech contains a skeleton made up of several dozen bones. Each bone is a honeycombed foamed aluminum core wrapped with stressed silicon carbide monofilament and protected by a rigid titanium steel shell. Ooh, cool. All the big words. Each of these artificial bones has attachment points for the meomer, muscles, and servos that drive the Battlemech. This skeletal construction helps make Battlemechs less vulnerable and easier to repair than vehicles supported by stressed skin shells. Well, only in science fiction, but that's okay. We're talking about the internal structure. Muscles. Two different systems are used to drive Battlemechs and control their movements. Small electrically driven actuators move a mech's light weapons and sensor arrays. Bundles of polyacetylene fibers called meomers control a mech's limbs and main weapons. Meomers contract when exposed to electrical current, much like human muscles. And if a Battlemech's meomers are damaged in battle, technicians can replace the fiber bundles with new ones or transplant meomers from other parts of the mech system, or mech skeleton. Transplanted meomer bundles cannot restore full function to a damaged limb, but they do provide limited mobility and strength. So this is how they make the mechs move in this particular style of giant battling robot things. Instead of hydraulics and servos and such, they use artificial muscles with carbon fibers and all the cool stuff. I always thought that was kind of a neat and interesting different take on it. It sort of makes the Battlemech more humanized in a way. Armor and weapons. Two of my favorite things. Two separate layers of armor provide modern Battlemechs with protection against energy and projectile weapons. Usually, aligned crystal steel is used for an outer layer of armor. The aligned crystal steel has excellent heat-conducting properties, and so it provides excellent protection against lasers and particle beam weapons. An inner layer of boron nitride impregnated with diamond monofilaments stops high-explosive armor-piercing heap rounds and fast neutrons. The second layer of armor also prevents any armor fragments from damaging the Battlemech's internal systems. This is sort of the hand-waving that they do so that one type of armor is effective against, has the same effect against all weapons. All weapons have the same effect against this armor, is what I should say. Battlemechs usually carry charged particle beam weapons, they will be PPCs, or lasers as their primary armaments, because energy weapons can be powered virtually indefinitely by a mech's onboard fusion reactor and do not require ammunition reloads. In addition to energy weapons, many Battlemechs carry launching racks for short or long-range non-nuclear missiles that suspiciously have only a range of 1 kilometer in the future. Still, other mechs mount rapid-fire autocannons or machine guns for use against infantry, aircraft, and other battle mechs. Yes, the machine gun gets a bonus against infantry in the board game, and if I remember correctly, the autocannon 2, the AC2, which does piddling 2 points of damage, has a bonus against aircraft of some kind of flak thing, something or another. It's been a very, very long time since I played the board game with Aerotech fighters. Power! Battlemechs require a large, constant power supply for movement and combat. The fusion reactor, which produces enormous amounts of electricity from ordinary water, is the most efficient system for providing this power. And because the fusion reaction created by a Battlemech's power plant does not release neutrons, the power plant can operate indefinitely without becoming radioactive. And we wouldn't want to be radioactive. That can't be good. No, it's basically magic fusion, if you're familiar with the trope. The fusion plant produces electricity by a process known as magnetohydrodynamics. In this process, magnetic fields are used to channel plasma from the fusion reaction into a loop. This plasma is electrically conductive, and so the loop functions as a powerful generating coil, producing both electricity and waste heat. Every Battlemech carries radiators called heat sinks to help dissipate the waste heat. Heat sinks are especially important because excessively high internal temperatures can disrupt the magnetic containment fields around a Battlemech's reactor. And if a power plant's magnetic jar is disrupted, an uncontrolled fusion reaction may occur, releasing neutrons and exposing the Battlemech's internal systems and its crew to damaging and lethal radiation, both of which are bad kinds of radiation. Damaging radiation and lethal radiation. This is mostly somewhat scientifically accurate as far as the use of magnetic fields to make plasma and such. There's various projects in reality that are working on figuring out how to do that. Although it won't be in as small a scale as a Battlemech, it requires big, giant plants and factories and things like that, and super colliders and particles and other things your primitive mind wouldn't understand. Movement! Battlemechs can attain walking or running speeds ranging from 40 to 100 kilometers per hour in open terrain. Dense forests, swamps, and steep slopes will slow a mech. Plus -1 to movement. But very few terrain features can stop one. In addition, many mechs can jump over obstacles by superheating air with their fusion reactors and jetting it out through so-called jump jets. Jump-capable Battlemechs operating on worlds without atmospheres often carry small quantities of mercury to use as a reaction mass for their jets. Covering all our bases here. And all Battlemechs can move underwater when crossing rivers or small lakes, because the Battlemech is a sealed environment. Spaceborne Battlemechs can make assault landings from low orbit. Special reaction jets housed in their feet allow them to soft land from altitudes of up to 320 kilometers. That's pretty high up there. During re-entry, breakaway ablative shields protect a Battlemech's vulnerable sensors and weapons. So when you think about jump jets, it has to not only match the thrust weight of the Battlemech, but exceed it in order to make it jump. So it's very powerful. When you have a 80-ton mech or so, that would be 80,000 pounds of thrust just to equalize it, and then you'd need 160,000 pounds of thrust in jump jets just to lift off. Well, to maneuver at least. Weapons and heat dissipation strategies. Very important. Because if Battlemech systems are pushed to their limits during combat, what isn't pushed to the limits during combat? Isn't that what limits are for? Mechs engaged in combat generate large amounts of waste heat rapidly. We've already discussed how excessive internal temperatures can disrupt a fusion reactor's magnetic containment shields, but excessive heat can also impair or permanently damage a mech's electronics and computer systems, slowing the Battlemech's movement and reducing the accuracy of its weapons. This is represented in the board game by causing a +1 penalty for your various movement or various pilot rolls when you have a certain threshold of heat. This isn't particularly modeled in this game, but it would be modeled in MechWarrior 3, where when you approach a large amount of heat, the various heads-up display type elements become inaccurate and wavery, which is a nice effect. But we won't see that in this game. Heat sinks are one way of controlling the heat buildup in a mech, but the heat pouring out of these radiators can produce strong infrared IR signatures, you think? Which can make a mech easy to target. To solve this problem, MechWarriors have found other ways to control heat buildup. Really? By keeping cool, wearing shades. Get yourself a pair of cheap sunglasses. Often, MechWarriors will place their machines in shallow lakes or rivers as possible. Yes, I've mentioned this at one point in the game. If you put heat sinks in the actual tabletop game, if you put heat sinks in your legs, you get a bonus to dissipation when you are in a level of water. Through the process of conduction and convection, the running water helps dissipate the mech's internal heat, allowing a higher rate of activity. On temperate or cold worlds, the atmosphere itself can help dissipate waste heat in the same manner. On the other hand, the high outside temperatures of a desert or jungle environment can exacerbate a Battlemech's heating problems. Yes, indeed, hot planets make mechs hot, cold planets make mechs cold. You got that? Perhaps the most common way MechWarriors control heat buildup is by regulating the movement and firing rates of their machines manually or by reprogramming the machine's movement control computer and its secondary systems. This is where we talk about heat management and why it's very important to know which weapons you are firing at which time and how much heat they are making. And this is why I prefer to use the chain system of firing instead of group fire, because it allows me to have better control over how much heat I'm building up in combat. These computers can be used to limit the mech's rate of activity and the resulting heat buildup. For example, when a mech is sent to a high-temperature world, its activity rate setting may be lowered. The mech will move more slowly and fire less often than it would on a temperate planet. When a mech is sent to fight in an Arctic climate, the setting is raised, allowing faster movement and a higher rate of fire. Reprogramming is usually carried out while the Battlemech force is en route to its assignment aboard dropships. The process takes approximately 2 weeks. Now, I'd never seen this played out anywhere, actually, in any of the games, or I don't know if there's rules in the board game for optimizing for various heat levels of worlds. All I know is that you can have heat penalties or bonuses depending on whether the planet is cold or hot. Because Battlemechs are always adjusted for the expected external temperature of their combat environments, sudden increases in outside temperature can have a devastating impact on a mech's ability to dissipate waste heat, like getting hit in the face with a flamer. Tacticians have developed a whole series of battle tactics to take advantage of this mech's characteristic. For example, commanders regularly set forests on fire while enemy Battlemechs are advancing through them. The superheated air roaring around the mechs can overload the machine's cooling systems or drastically reduce their efficiency, thus hampering the machine's combat abilities. This is something you can do in the board game. You can set fire to a forest hex, and it creates a I believe it's a +1, or maybe it's a +2 penalty to heat. Alternately, we saw in Mech Commander, the heat from a forest fire would show up as a contact, so that's a different way of doing it. Well, what else is there in here? Battlemech Spex, we'll go through the Battlemechs in a moment. Let's look at neural helmets. Wolfnet Archive File 67743PF S2P33/7/0. In spite of recent advances in Battlemech technology, the basic element of a mech's control system, the Neural Impulse Helmet, has remained unchanged since the start of the Succession Wars. Commonly called neural helmets, these bulky items normally cover a MechWarrior's entire head, attaching firmly to the shoulders of his cooling vest. Some more compact models remain from the days of the Starleg, but even these helmets are heavy and uncomfortable. Yes, the neural helmet, that's the way they get around having to have lots of switches and dials and things like that. Electrodes on the interior of the neural helmet channel sensory information from the Battlemech directly to the pilot, converting raw data on posture, movement, balance, and speed into neural impulses for the human brain. At the same time, the helmet and its linked computer translate impulses from the MechWarrior's brain into signals, transmitted directly to the mech's gyroscope and myomer musculature. In this way, the reflexive bodily movements of the Battlemech are controlled subconsciously by the pilot, leaving his conscious brain free to control the various weapons and other systems as needed. It's a very interesting way of controlling. There's various types of things that are in progress in the real world in development. As far as various thought control systems like that. Rumors have been circulating about clan advances in the area of neural control. A source near the first Somerset strikers reported that certain clan pilots have been sighted wearing no neural helmets while operating their mechs, instead relying on a delicate web of conductive fibers affixed to their shaven heads. These neural nets superficially resemble face paint, and indeed we initially thought our opponents were using some strange system of tribal markings. Regardless of the veracity of these claims and others like them, such systems are surely prototypes at best. And don't call me Shirley. No solid facts are yet available regarding the combat effectiveness or adaptability of these new systems. As always, our readers will be the first to hear of any new developments. Okay then! Let's see. All the cool things that we can't read about. I think technology is the last one. Alright, one moment, please. Alright, let's get into those Battlemech specs. Way the hell late, though. Let's see. Let's do this in order of tonnage. Start with the FIREMOTH. What order is this anyway? This doesn't seem to be... Oh, it's alphabetical. Except for elemental, which is not. Yeah, that's alphabetical. Well, let's start with the FIREMOTH. You get this cool, drawn-out version of the front side of the FIREMOTH. In the 3050 Technical Readout, they were just sort of wireframe models. So this is cool because you would get to see the actual, with some shading here. You see the FIREMOTH has two pairs of hands, and its arms are mounted upward, with the torso here and the cockpit here, and the legs and such. 20 tons, 200 XL, which gives it a movement rate of 10-15. That's 10 walking and 15 running. An XL engine. XL meaning it has half the weight, but the penalty is that you take up 2 critical slots in your left and right torso. So if you lose your left torso in the board game, you lose 2 engine points. That's not good. Yes, of course. Internal structure weighs 1 ton. And see here, this actually uses the board game statistics in these Battlemech specs, which is kind of interesting, but would be sort of confusing for anybody who is not familiar with the board game. And the 20 in brackets means that it has the mask system, which is Myomer Accelerated Signal Circuitry. What that means is it's some kind of fancy-ass Myomer that makes it move faster. It's sort of a... It's not really a good system at all, because if you get... When you use it in the board game, every turn you use it in the board game, you have to throw a piloting roll, and if you fail, you have a critical leg failure, and it's very bad, is what I'm saying. So only use it in short bursts. And interestingly, this uses the original 3050 Technical Readout, because the Technical Readout 3050 Revised had not yet come out. So, a little bit of interesting trivia about Battletech. The original Technical Readout 3050 was released in 1990 and included the clan invasion mechs and covered just about all the... Omni-mechs that would invade the inner sphere and their frontline troops, and there was one for every 5-ton or 5-ton increments. So there was a Omni-mech for 20, 25, 30, 35, etc., etc. We don't see all of those in this game, though, however. Now, in the 3050 original Technical Readout, actually some of the introduction to the level 2 rules, and the last 20 or 30 pages of it, and I do have a copy of the original Technical Readout 3050, is actually dedicated to explaining the level 2 rules for the various clan weapons, as well as the very basic Lost Tech weapons of the Inner Sphere, which are the level 2 Inner Sphere weapons that are better than level 1, but not as good as clan stuff. We'll get more into that when we get into mercenaries, and there was only so few types originally. Like, there's only the LBX-10, I believe, and the UAC-5 were available. Such and such and such. Anyway, in the original 3050, they also used fractional tonnage, and they went down to the 1/4. So those rules were eventually dropped because they didn't seem to add any value. So you would see the original specs in the 3050 had some mechs that had 1/4 ton increments of various components and weights and structures and things like that. Especially with endo steel, you'd see a 1/4 ton, but you'd also see the engines being in 1/4 ton increments. So some of the original specifications in the 3050 Technical Readout would have an extra 1/2 ton or less than a 1/2 ton than their more common variants that you would be more familiar with after the 3050 Revised came out in 1996, which is the one that was the definitive version. Now, the 3050 Revised also was necessary because it had to remove the various unseen mechs, which were the mechs that FASA had licensed from various Japanese sources of Macross and other things, their likenesses, such as the Marauder and the Warhammer and the Phoenix Hawk and some others, the Crusader and the Archer, and there's quite a few actually. So FASA had to release a new Technical Readout that did not include those because of legal concerns, because FASA had licensed the likeness of those mechs for the board games and for paper products, but not for visual products. So when they went into making MechWarrior 2, and suddenly FASA's making all the money off of those designs, what happened was that those designs were licensed to be visually displayed as part of Robotech by a US company called Harmony Gold. So Harmony Gold had the rights to the visual aspects, but not to the paper aspects, and FASA had rights to the paper aspects, but not to the visual aspects. So, the way that I remember it, and I'm not sure, take this with a grain of salt, is that when the Sierra company, you remember Sierra video games, came out with their Earthsiege title of giant battling robots, FASA sued them because of likeness infringement. And when FASA sued them, Harmony Gold was like, hey, wait a second, you're kind of using the stuff that we have licensed, and, yeah, no. So they had to remove the unseen mechs. That was why they called the unseen mechs. It was kind of a big legal mess and required the re-release of the 3050, 3025, and the, I think the 3055. Also, technical readouts to remove those mechs, even though the actual mech builds were still legal game. Okay, that's enough history of that off the top of my head. Anyway, yes, these uses the original 3050 stats, so that's kind of interesting because this is 1995 and the technical readout revised had not come out yet, so we'll see how interesting that is. And these use all the board game ones too, so it doesn't, or it does have some weapons and components that are not in the MechWarrior 2. Armor Factor 38. Cockpit, you can't get around that weight. And piddling a little armor value. Always dangerous to have less than 9 armor for the head. You can max out the head armor is maxed out at 9 for every Battlemech. You kind of want to have as much armor to the head as possible because that's where you're sitting and you don't want to die. Now when it goes through the weapons configurations in here, you'll notice, even though it's an Omni-Mech, so what an Omni-Mech is that it's basically a skeleton-based structure of a mech, and then it allocates enough pod space. This doesn't even mention pod space. What it is it's the basic structure of the mech, and then they equip various configurations of weapons to it. It's sort of a modular system. So you'll see a readout that says 15 tons of pod space, for instance, and you could put 15 tons of things in there and such. This just uses the primary configuration. It's 2 ER medium lasers, SRM-6 with 15 rounds, SRM-4 with 25 rounds, and case. Cellular ammunition storage equipment. I believe that they would... I don't remember if they just omit it eventually. Case comes standard in all clan mechs. All clan mechs have this. What it means is when you have an internal ammo explosion, it's limited to the location of the ammo that has exploded. Otherwise, it would explode into the adjacent locations. That is what level 1 inner sphere mechs have. So when your AC-20 ammo explodes in your right torso, it blows up your right arm and your center torso and everything. Case means it's confined to that one location only. Clan case is built in. Inner sphere case costs 1 ton, but it's a 1 ton that's very well spent if you intend to not explode. See, and here it details out the critical locations. Puts the heat sinks in, or puts 1 heat sink in the right torso, and you see the various ferrofibros and endosteels that are allocated. When you have endosteel or ferrofibros, you have to allocate those critical slots, and they take up space, etc., etc. Capabilities. The FIREMOTH's primary configuration can give a good account of itself against any light mech. Its exceptional speed allows it to confront its enemy at close range and use its short-range missiles and medium lasers effectively regardless of its opponent's actions. When facing a larger enemy, the FIREMOTH simply retreats to friendly lines, leaving its foe far behind. Another popular tactic mastered by the FIREMOTH includes racing to the enemy's rear and cutting down opposing mechs before they can respond. Deployment. The FIREMOTH is a base chassis that is often favored over other reconnaissance mechs by Clan Ghost Bear, Smoke Jaguar, and Steel Viper. So we get a very stripped down version of what you would get in the Technical Readout. The FIREMOTH is much more useful mech in the board game than it is in MechWarrior 2, because you have lots of bonuses when you're running really fast, because it's hard to shoot things that are running really fast. One moment, please. Okay. What comes next? The KITFOX. Well, I don't remember what the 25-ton mech Omni-Mech is. Is it the... It's not the Dragonfly. No, and that's not even the right name for it. Anyway, there's the KITFOX. They designed it so that it couldn't torso twist in this game because FASA hates you. Well, no, Activision hates you, I should say. And it's got a fist on one arm. You can see the lasers sort of there. And the autocannon on the other arm, representing its armored configuration. 30 tons, 180 XL, movement rate of 6'9", which is decent enough for a light mech. It's more effective against the inner sphere forces than it is against the clan forces. Got decent armor. Uses endo steel for its troubles. See, maxed out the head armor. It's always a good idea. You got a large laser, a small pulse laser, Streak SRM-4, and an LB-5X autocannon. All kinds of good stuff here. Large laser obviously is the extended range version of the regular large laser. Small pulse laser gives you a +2. Is it plus? Yeah, +2 to hit, but it's got less range than the small laser. Streak SRMs are unique in the board game in that they will not fire if you do not hit. So when you choose to select and fire them and you roll to hit, if you do not hit, they do not fire, which is pretty cool. In this game, they're just rendered as being lock-on missiles. And case, as I mentioned, LB-5X, which is sort of a variant. It's a variant on the autocannon that fires fragmentary munitions like a shotgun. That's what that means. But I don't know what LB means. Luca Brazzi? Double heatsink. Double heatsink, double heatsink. Yes. The internal engine can support so many heatsinks based on its size. Any remaining heat sinks that do not fit into it have to be allocated manually. Capabilities: the KITFOX's configuration is equipped with 4 of the most advanced weapons available. Its main firepower comes from the LB-5X autocannon in its right arm and the extended range large laser in its left. A small pulse laser and Streak SRM-4 add to the KITFOX's punch at close range. This marvel of design keeps heat buildup in check, economizes on missile loads to avoid running out of ammunition, and provides sting at varying ranges. Yes, it's much more effective in the board game. Unfortunately, in the MechWarrior 2, because it's got all its weapons in the arms, it makes it very vulnerable, since arm shots are a lot easier to do in first-person deployment. Since other light mechs are quicker, the KITFOX sees less reconnaissance duty than other models, but still continues to be a preferred mech of Clan Nova Cat, Jade Falcon, Steel Viper, and Clan Wolf. Let's see, does it mention the... No, it doesn't mention whether it has arm actuators or not. I can't remember if it does. Well, obviously it has lower arm actuators because it's got lower arms. Let's see. After that comes the Jenner. Here labeled as simply the Jenner rather than the Jenner 2C. It would show up in the 3055 technical readout, and then it would be removed forever because for some reason the Jenner 2C is a licensed from Japan and the regular Jenner is not. I'm not sure why that is. I've never understood that. Jenner, very popular mech. The cockpit out in front and the little wings with the missiles in it. It sort of looks like a Klingon battlecruiser, in my opinion. Technically, this is the Jenner 2C, and what 2C means is that it's the second edition, and the C stands for Clan. 35 tons, endo steel, very large power plant, gives it a movement rate of 914, right? I think, yes, 914. Just shy of the FIREMOTH, and it's got 7 jump jets. Maybe it's not 914. Yeah, it is 914. It's right frickin' there. Well, how does it have an 8 jumping move points if it only has 7 jump jets? MechWarrior 2, you're confusing me. Here you see the fractional accounting again. It's got the same armor as the KITFOX, so it's a little bit under-armored for its size. But it makes up for that in speed. And then, speed is something that Jenner does have. Jenner is a very popular mech. Very popular in the inner sphere for its speed and mobility with its jump jets. Now, the Jenner is not an Omni-Mech. And the Jenner 2C is not an Omni-Mech, I should say, which means it only has one configuration. It only has 7 hit points for the head. Well, don't knock your noggin. Now, the Clan version goes to all missiles, but I believe the Inner Sphere version has an SRM. Oh, geez. Is it an SRM 4? And some lasers? No. I don't have the thing in front of me right now. It's got some medium lasers, I believe. So in this version, it's got a Streak SRM4 and 2 SRM6s. Lots of firepower for its size. And, of course, the jump jets. Mounted in an... What? How do you mount 3 jump jets in the left leg? That's not allowed. What? You can't do that. There's only 2 critical slots in the left leg and the right leg. And then you have 2 jump jets down here. Battletech. Ugh. But then, and then you don't have enough jump jets allocated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jump jets. It should be 7 or 8. I don't know. Ugh. Somebody's gonna be in trouble here for this. And it's got 2 engine criticals, like I mentioned, for the XL. So, interesting. Capabilities. The Jenner speed has been exploited to make one of the fastest and most maneuverable mechs in existence. Our designers have reinforced its center torso and leg armor for increased survivability, and its powerful jump jets give it an incredible 240-meter jump capability. 240 meters, let's see, 24 divided by 3, that should be 8. So it should be 8. Whatever. Comes after the Jenner. That would be the 40-ton Puma, or is it the Adder? It's the Adder is the Clan designation. The Adder is a cool mech. It's got dual PPCs in its prime configuration. I believe that we will see the Adder in MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries. And I'm pretty sure it's in MechWarrior 3, so that's a cool mech. I like that mech. That's 40 tons. 45 tons is the Ice Ferret, as I mentioned before. 50 tons would be the Nova. Now, the Nova is interesting because in the board game, it has 12 extended range medium lasers. You can see them here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, arranged around the fists here. But in MechWarrior 2, you only get 10 weapon slots, so they replace them with a medium pulse laser or two. So, to make up the difference. I just like the way that it looks. It's got the protruding nose here, sort of like a F-14 or something, and nostrils. 50 tons, standard chassis. 54 kilometers would be a movement rate of 5.8. Got 5 jump jets. Standard armor. I don't know why they would use regular components when they could use the upgraded ones, since it has so much space. Well, no. That's a lot of lasers, isn't it? Anyway, here's another fractional accounting. All the armor that it can stuff into a 50-ton torso. Very excellent movement the Nova has. See? 2, 4, 6 6 ER medium lasers. 2, 4, 6 more medium lasers. 12 medium lasers. It is some kind of awesome. It's great in the board game. The Nova is a fearsome machine. It's a bit better in, I think it's in MechWarrior 3. It does a better job of itself. In this game, it's crippled by its lack of torso twisting, so that kind of takes the fire out of the Nova. But you do get jump jets, which helps a bit. So 2 jump jets in each leg, and 1 jump jet in the center torso. Hey, look at that! You've allocated all your jump jets correctly. Capabilities. The Nova has an unusual appearance and fearsome capabilities. Each hexagonal weapons pod on each arm boasts 6 medium lasers that provide exceptional firepower, but generate too much heat for sustained firing. The Nova mounts 4 additional double heat sinks to allow the pilot more freedom to use his weapons. Nevertheless, a pilot who fires all 12 lasers in one salvo risks immediate shutdown. That is true. Let's see, what is, I believe the heat generated by the ER medium laser is 5. So that would be 60 heat points in 1 turn. And you can only dissipate 28. Well, they're there when you need them, though. I guess that would be why it's called the Nova, because it explodes. Maybe it should be called the Pinto. Deployment. The Nova is a preferred mech commonly deployed by Clan NovaCat. No! Really? Smoke Jaguar, Jade Falcon, and Steel Viper. Yes, the Nova is a very fearsome machine, especially with its ER medium lasers, that have a range of 15 hexes in the board game. Very nasty against just about any inner sphere level 1 mech that it would be facing. 55 tons is, geez, I don't know, that would be the STORMCROW! Yes! STORMCROW, what a cool guy. Very odd-looking mech from the front. It's got huge legs and tiny little arms like a Tyrannosaurus. And the torso protrudes out, and it's got the top missile rack up top, and it's got various laser weapons. The STORMCROW is very, very good mech, in my opinion. One of my favorites, aside from the obvious. Got a very big 330XL engine in there. Gives it a movement rate of 6.9, which is very impressive for a medium mech. It's got tons and tons of armor. All the armor you can cram into it, as it takes a good beating. It's got lots of energy weapons that are useful. Good armor spread here. A lot of armor on the rear though, 11 and 9. I usually go with just a little bit less because I like to think that I would be facing the enemy instead of not facing the enemy. It's got a medium laser in the center torso, and then a large and medium laser in either arm, as well as lots of heat sinks. How many heat sinks? Oh no. What? That doesn't make sense. If it's only got 10 heat sinks, a 330 size engine should be able to hold all those heat sinks. Why are we allocating heat sinks then? Unless this is the base configuration and the primary configuration adds heat sinks. I think that might be what's going on here. 3 heat sinks in the left torso and 3 in the, I believe that should be the right torso, because I don't think you would have you would have maybe enough, I don't know. Oh wow. And then there's more in the right torso. So yeah, it does add some in the primary configuration. Lots of heat sinks to make it able to fire all of those weapons, and none of the weapons apparently are allocated in the critical space. The inner sphere was totally unprepared for a mech equipped with double-barreled lasers on each arm and the heat sinks that allowed the pilot to use them. Yes, it was a nasty surprise. The configuration of the STORMCROW could devastate a foe in moments. The speed and firepower of this version of the STORMCROW commands the respect of any military force. Deployment: the STORMCROW is employed in a wide array of assignments with Clan Ghostbearer, Clan Jade Falcon, and Clan Wolf. Yes, the STORMCROW's excellent mech. And now we get to my favorite, the MADDOG. Ah, there she is, the good old MADDOG. My personal favorite chassis of choice. Dual lasers on each arm and them big LRM racks. And a pointy torso. Yes, indeed. 60 tons. Movement rate of 5.8. Just good enough for a heavy mech. Armor factor is a little bit light. Comes with 12 heat sinks embedded into its basic configuration. Armor is just a little bit light. You could fit a lot more armor in it, but it's got enough armor to do the job. I may be biased, of course. Oh, not me. Now you can see the armor spread is a bit better here. It uses only 7 points on the rear torsos. Of course, you're very familiar with the MADDOG configuration. Large pulse laser, medium pulse laser in either arm, and the LRM 20s in either torso. There you go. Capabilities. The MADDOG serves mostly as a fire support mech. Many mech warriors have remarked about the foreboding feeling they sense before looking up to see a MADDOG perched on a ridge, firing missiles at the raging battle below, just waiting for its victims to die before swooping down for the carry-on. The twin racks of 20 long-range missiles can certainly hasten along the enemy's death. Should the MADDOG injure an enemy at long range, it can take fate into its own hands, or arms in this case, and use its laser weapons to finish off its foe. Yes, it's interesting they take the actual literal fluff text from the technical readout from the inner sphere perspective when it's given the code name Vulture, which is why it talks about carry-on and swooping down and stuff like that. And of course, I will always call it the MADDOG because that is how I am. Deployment, the MADDOG has since been sighted with stars of most clans, but is used with the greatest frequency by Clan Ghost Bear, Smoke Jaguar, Steel Viper, and Clan Wolf. After that comes the Hellbringer at 65 tons. The mech I don't like at all. It looks really cool though. Its SRMs here and its little like face guard thing looking like a Cylon or something. Big PPCs there. But there's your problem. 128 armor points. Ooh. On a mech of 65 tons. That is not a good idea. That is less armor than the Nova by far. Almost 100. Yeah, it is 100 points less armor than the 10-ton heavier Timberwolf. Paper-thin armor. The Hellbringer. The mech that will get you killed if you don't kill everybody first. 65 tons, 325 XL. The clans do love their extra light engines. There's another fractional tonnage for ya. It does carry a hell of a lot of weapons though. But, oh, jeez. 17 in the center torso, man, that's 2 PPC shots and it's gone. I would be nervous about that. I think even two large laser shots would be into the criticals. Nope. You can keep your Hellbringer. Interestingly, it mentions the anti-missile system. Has an anti-missile system in the head, which must be fun when you're getting missile shot at you and the cockpit around you is exploding and firing the flechette rounds at the incoming missiles. Yes, the anti-missile system, which we will see in Ghost Bear's Legacy and also in MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries. Very useful system. Got 24 rounds for that. ERPPC has a Guardian ECM and a Beagle probe and a targeting computer. A 4-ton targeting computer. So the targeting computer is more useful in the board game. Well, it doesn't really. They don't really render it at all in any of the MechWarrior games. But what it does is it adds a +1 to, or -1, +1. Yep. It adds a bonus of 1. I can't. I'm sorry. It's been so long since I've rolled the dice. It adds a bonus of 1 for your gunnery rolls. Every gunnery roll. And the weight and the size of it, it takes up 1 ton, 1 critical slot for every ton it is, and every ton, the size of it is based on the amount of weapons that you have in tonnage. There's rules for it and everything. You can go find them in the board game. Guardian ECM and the Beagle probe, 2 things that would not be in any of the MechWarrior games. I'm not exactly sure what the effects of them are. I never used the Guardian ECM in the board game, actually. I must confess. It's just never come up on a mech that I've been using. I'm not sure what it does. Well, we know what it does in Mech Commander. It reduces the radar range of enemy mechs by jamming them somehow. The Beagle probe, though, can detect shut down mechs, which is kind of useful, but usually when you're playing against another person, your mechs are always stated what they are at the beginning, so either way. 3 ER medium lasers, another ER PPC, Streak, SRM, machine gun in the right torso, and small lasers in the legs, interestingly enough. Put that crap wherever you can fit it. The Clan machine gun weighs a 1/4 ton because the Inner Sphere machine gun weighs a 1/2 ton. So the Clan one has to be better. So there's some more fractional accounting there. Capabilities. The HELLBRINGER is an electronic marvel. It sports Guardian electronic countermeasures, a Beagle probe, and a sophisticated targeting computer. Its blend of weapon systems is a sound combination of ammo efficiency and anti-mech capabilities, and long and short-range functions. The only problem with this design is that it cannot handle the massive amounts of heat generated by its mixture of systems. Warriors must be cautious in their choice of targets so that cockpit heat levels do not rise too high. Yes, that's the HELLBRINGER's only problem. Not to mention its paper-thin armor could be broken by a high school football team running through it. Deployment. The HELLBRINGER has been seen on all types of missions, including save reconnaissance. What? That's not how you English, Battletech. The HELLBRINGER has been seen on all types of missions, including save reconnaissance, and always proves to be an effective battle force for Clan Novacat, Jade Falcon, and the Steel Viper. It's a very good band I saw one time when they opened up for Steel Dragon. No, I lied. 70-ton would be the Summoner. Yeah, the Summoner, very popular mech in the clans. It's got an autocannon there and some missiles and such. PPC. You can see they have a sort of a design standard for what the PPC looks like. I like the way the legs look. They always look like tank treads to me, but they're not. 70 tons and 5 jump jets. Get you cruising all over the place. Good amount of armor. Well, decent amount of armor, I suppose. 182. LB-10X autocannon, LRM-15, and an ERPPC. Good mix of weapons there. The huge Summoner, standing at least a meter taller than most other mechs, appears most often in a configuration that is remarkable considering its lack of laser weaponry. Its mix of weapons complements this mech's maneuverability to make it a deadly foe. This model carries a long-range missile launcher on its left shoulder, a PPC in one hand, and a heavy autocannon in the other. Deployment. The Summoner is most frequently used by Clan Ghost Bear, Clan Smoke Jaguar, Clan Jade Falcon, and Clan Wolf. It is commonly assigned to missions as mobile support for assault mechs or the quick-striking hammer that follows up a rapid advance. Yes, the LB-10X. Not quite a useful weapon in this game because it's not quite modeled properly, but good weapon in the board game. Of course, 75 tons would be the iconic TIMBERWOLF. Yes, pretty much the poster child of the clan invasion. The TIMBERWOLF with its big arms and its big lasers and big missiles, LRM racks, and its pointy torso and everything. Rounded torso like a fighter jet. Very handsome machine. Very symmetrical too. I love symmetry. 75 tons, 375 XL, the biggest engine you can cram into a 75-ton mech. And here you see more fractional accounting. This is where it would be most noticeable in the revised one. Revised edition of the 3050, I should say. It comes with 5 heat sinks that are making numbers that don't work. 32 is not the double of 15, okay? Come on. It's the 31st century. Don't they have calculators? Armor factor 230. Lots of armor. And a good spread of it, too. Putting most of it to the front. And enough to the rear. Now we have a machine gun and a large laser and a medium laser in each arm. Some heat sinks, some medium pulse laser in the left torso, which I believe would be removed in the new version. LRM-20, or no, the small laser is removed. Medium pulse laser stays. Small laser, large laser, medium laser, another machine gun, and another LRM-20. Everything that you can need to get the job done. Interestingly, the primary configuration does come with large and medium lasers in the arms, but for whatever reason, whenever the Timberwolf seems to be depicted in various art forms and such, and cutscenes, it always seems to be firing PPCs from its arms. I always wondered why that was. Well, there is a configuration that has PPCs. I think it's the C config. Capabilities: the Timberwolf displays impressive firepower. No kidding. Starting with double LRM-20 racks on the shoulders and weapon pods on each arm containing an extended range large laser and an extended range medium laser. The Timberwolf also incorporates pulse technology with a medium pulse laser on the right side of the torso and a dual machine gun system to round out its weaponry. See, they don't even mention the extended range small laser. It would be removed because of the fractional tonnage removement of the rules. Deployment: the Timberwolf is commonly used favorite of Clan Ghostbear, Clan Novacat, Clan Smoke Jaguar, Clan Jade Falcon, and guess what, Clan Wolf? No! Clan Wolf would operate a mech called the Timberwolf? That would be ridiculous. Alright, 80 tons. Let's start with the Warhammer. Yes, the Warhammer. One of the unseen mechs licensed from Macross or Vertitech or something or another, or Voltron, I don't know. One of them Japanese things that are not interesting to me. Nope, I like my mechs built in America, damn it. You can see it's got two PPCs on each, or two PPCs, one on each arm. And it's got an SRM-6 here and the cockpit right up here. This is actually a spotlight. Interestingly, there was a very, very early version of the Battletech board game that actually gave rules for using a spotlight for the Warhammer. It came with the likeness of the whatever it came from, and they made up some rules for it. How about that? 80 tons and a standard engine. This would be the Warhammer 2C. It's not stated that way. Then it mysteriously becomes a 320XL engine. No, it does not. Why are there all kinds of errors in here? I don't know. That's got a hell of a lot of heat sinks, as much armor as a Timberwolf, and only a movement rate of 4.6. The 2C mechs were basically what the clans did. They took their original mechs that they brought from the Inner Sphere when they exodused, and they added clan components to them and made them sort of like garrison mechs that are decently powerful, but nothing too exciting, usually. Although the Warhammer 2C is a very powerful mech just because of its dual ER-PPCs. Also got those medium pulse lasers and the SRM-6 on the right torso. And some more medium pulse lasers. Capabilities. The Warhammer was originally designed as an assault mech, and even though it was later eclipsed by heavier mechs, it could still live up to its reputation as one of the most powerful weapon platforms at a commander's disposal. The Warhammer has a winning combination of speed and firepower, if you can call 4.6 speed, in the clans anyway. 4.6 is a good speed for an assault mech in the Inner Sphere, though. that has secured its position in every arsenal. Its strong frame allows many common modifications to be made without losing fighting capacity. Through our technological expertise, we have transformed the Warhammer into a true assault mech and managed to add 10 tons of weight and also retain its speed and firepower. The result of such design expertise is a very powerful and dangerous mech capable of holding its own on any battlefield. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, the original Inner Sphere Warhammer was only 70 tons. They added 10 tons, and what do you get? A Warhammer 2C and lots of heatsinks. But the original Inner Sphere Warhammer did have the dual PPCs that made it famous. Okay. I will return momentarily. Okay, continuing on. Next we have the Gargoyle. Another mech I'm not particularly fond of because it has all of its weapons in its arms. Well, it's not so bad in the... Again, not so bad in the board game. Not so good in this game. Yes, the Gargoyle with its face and everything. Oh, you know what? I skipped the Rifleman, didn't I? Let's do the Rifleman. Can't skip the Rifleman. Who was that? James Arnez? Yes, the Rifleman. With its radar dish on top of its head and its guns pointing down at the earth, ready to fire at the ground. Rifleman 2C is another one of those interesting ones where the 2C version is an unseen that's licensed from Japan, but the original one is not. I think. I'm pretty sure that's the case. The Warhammer, though, is not to be seen in anywhere. Ever again! I did not mention the Warhammer. Ah, the Rifleman with its crappy 353 movement rate. Well, the jump jets help a bit. It's got a crappy little engine, though. Lots of armor, though, for its size. Pretty much all the armor you can fit. This version has 4 large pulse lasers that will ruin your day. Capabilities. Visually, the Rifleman looks nothing like the traditional outline that would be recognizable on the battlefield. Like its smaller brother, it mounts a large rotating radar array over its head, but the 2C variant's radar system is mounted much higher, with twin box-like appendages fitted on either side of the central support pylon. Close analysis of this mech in action on battlefield vids revealed that this unusual configuration includes a phased radar array that acts in tandem with the main array. The benefit of this arrangement has not been determined and calls for further study. This is just fluff text. There's no real extra bonus points you get from the Rifleman. And, yeah, I believe the Rifleman 2C is heavier than the regular Rifleman, but I don't remember the Rifleman too well. That's not a very popular mech. The original one, I should say, from the Inner Sphere. The Rifleman 2C serves as an anti-aircraft battle mech with a design that clearly implies a more conservative approach than others. By using a larger 260 rated engine, it retains the expected performance envelope of a standard Rifleman. Okay. This model's ferrofibros armor was eliminated, forcing the mechs to carry 2 more tons of armor for effective cover. Huh? This model's ferrofibros armor was eliminated. How could the Inner Sphere version have the... No, I don't know what it's talking about. I'm just gonna read. This variant of the Rifleman carries 4 Ultra AC-2s, 2 at each arm, equipped with 135 rounds of ammunition for each pair stored in the adjacent torso sections. While it lacks the firepower of its standard version, this variant is a formidable weapons platform with ample ammunition to fulfill the anti-aircraft mission if you want to get shot for 2 points of damage every frickin' turn. Why not? And that does not say on 240. It says 195. Whatever. Man, there's all kinds of weird errors and stuff in here. Did I miss anybody else while I was going through that? I don't think so. Okay, let's go back to the gargoyle. Yes, accessing the gargoyle and its weird face. The gargoyle with its ginormous 400 XL engine to make it go 5.8. The gargoyle has the inner sphere code name MANOWAR. MANOWAR, living on the road. No, not that MANOWAR. There's more fractional accounting. And this time 16 does double to 32. And the armor factor is less than a Timberwolf. Yes, I judge everything against the Timberwolf because the Timberwolf is the only mech that matters. Well, and the MADDOG. Nice even 10 on the rear torso, which is good. Has a dorky little small laser in the center torso, and everything else is in the arms. Has an LB5X autocannon and an SRM6 in each arm. That is kind of ridiculous. Is that really? That's all that? Wow. That's all the firepower it has. That's 5, 10, 12, 5, 10, 12, 22, 30, 34. 34 potential points of damage, except the SRMs don't always hit all the time. That's not particularly a good damage curve for a mech that's 80 tons. Considering what the MADDOG has damage curve of, I believe, like 60 something alone. Capabilities: with almost all of its firepower in its arm weapons pods, the gargoyle is a versatile design of suck. The most common combination of weapons includes an LB5X autocannon and SRM6 launcher on each arm and a small laser in the center torso. A model that carries a double particle projection cannon in the right arm and a triangle of lasers in the left is almost as frequently seen. That would be a much more useful configuration. A large pulse laser sits above the two medium pulse lasers along with the small lasers. That's a lot of lasers. Deployment: the gargoyle's combination of speed and firepower has made it a preferred design for Clan Ghost Bear, Clan Jade Falcon, and Clan Steel Viper. Yeah, a combination of speed and suck. Moving right along to the good old Marauder. Another unseen. This is another mech licensed from Japan. It's got a PPC on the head, or over to the top, and two PPCs, one on each arm, and then some other stuff. And it's got all kinds of things sticking out of it like it's a Soyuz capsule or something. And the pilot sits in the very front little window here. The original Marauder, the inner sphere design, was 75 tons. And because the inner sphere PPC takes up 3 critical slots, it was stuck in the right torso, even though it's clearly in the center torso. But, you know, pictures mean nothing, etc. Just uses a standard chassis, or a standard engine, because it's a 2C mech, but it does use endosteel and ferrofibrous. Pretty low armor for a mech of 85 tons, but it does seem to be able to take... It has a smaller hitbox, apparently, in this game. 4.6 is decent movement, fractional tonnage. 21 does go to 42. Again, not an Omni mech, so it has to mount all of its all of its heat sinks in its configuration. Good armor spread there. 3 PPCs. 2 medium pulse lasers, 1 in each arm. And an ER small laser on each torso. Oh, sorry, left torso. I said right torso. But it's the left torso that the PPC is mounted in. So it's got this cool PPC. Can't really see it. But for some reason, it doesn't look the same on the right side. But it's got a PPC and then a laser slung under it. Very cool looking design. However, it has no capabilities or deployment. Sorry. Your Marauder is no good here. Also at 85 tons is the Warhawk. Possibly the best assault mech that the clans have to offer, in my opinion, anyway. Standard chassis because you need them critical slots free. 85 tons of badassery. Lots of heat sinks. Armor factor of 259. 20 heat sinks. Maybe it's not the. Maybe this isn't the base number of heat sinks in the base of the Omni-Mech. I don't know. I don't trust any of these numbers anymore. Lots and lots of armor. Oh, yes. But the real fun is in them 4 PPCs. Oh, yeah, that'll ruin your day. And an LRM-10 just to make you feel special. And a targeting computer. Now, you don't get the targeting computer in MechWarrior 2, so I'll have to look what they replaced the targeting computer with. Oh, look at the HELLBRINGER too, also. See, the heat sinks spread out nicely. Capabilities: the Warhawk with its paired PPCs in the arms, and a potent long-range missile launcher can destroy smaller mechs with a single blast with the help of the enhanced accuracy of its targeting computer. Yes, indeed, the Warhawk will ruin your day if you're a small mech and you get hit by it. Deployment: this design appears most frequently with the Smoke Jaguars, who often pair it with the Dire Wolf. The Warhawk is also a preferred design of Clan Novacat and Clan Wolf. Yes, indeed. It's often been described as a walking apartment building. It kind of has that appearance, doesn't it? And then the final mech in here. Let's see, there's the cool, no, not the, it's not, the Executioner. Try not to use the Inner Sphere names, because I'm not a free birth, or I am not a free birth. The Executioner is a 95-ton mech we are not going to see in this game. We will see it in Ghost Bear's Legacy. And that's a strange mech that's got 3-5 movement and 3 jump jets and a Gauss rifle and all kinds of crazy stuff. Anyway, Direwolf. The big damn Direwolf. With its 5 lasers and LRMs and all the cool stuff all the kids want, and its slowness and tendency to get shot in the head in this game. Engine is a 300. Not an XL, apparently. But here it is. Oh, I don't know. And it should weigh more than 9.5 tons, I believe. Whatever. But it does use every single armor point that it can possibly fit into the 100-ton design. Got ER large laser, and 3 medium pulse lasers in the left arm, and an ultra autocannon. AC-5. And an LRM-10 in the left torso. And the similar in the right arm, only with 1 medium pulse laser. And it'll kill you. If you don't shoot it in the head, it'll knock you out. Capabilities. The Direwolf features an LRM-10 rack on the left shoulder. Each arm consists of a bundle of death, namely an ultra 5 autocannon, 2 large lasers, and 2 medium pulse lasers. Each arm consists of a what? But this says that it has 3 in the left and 1 in the right, and I don't believe you anymore. Why must you lie to L1011? 7 double-strength heat sinks are mounted in the torso of this mech to deal with some of the heat buildup. Yeah, you can overheat pretty quickly when you've got all them pulse lasers. Them pulse lasers use a lot of heat. Deployment. The direwolf's superior combat capability is quite apparent in the deployment this mighty mech is accustomed to. What? That's not how you... Do they not speak English in the 31st century? The direwolf's superior combat capability is quite apparent in the deployment this mighty mech is accustomed to. To boldly go... Oh, that is not a good sentence. This powerful base chassis is the mech of choice for Clan Ghost Bear, Nova Cat, Smoke Jaguar, Jade Falcon, Steel Viper, and Clan Wolf. Essentially all the invading clans. Yeah, who wouldn't want 100 tons of awesome knocking at your door? Elemental is not a battle mech. Elementals, yes, the powered armor infantry thingamajigs of the clans. It's actually an entirely different class besides the MechWarrior. They are genetically engineered to be big and huge, and that's pretty much it. Wolfnet archive file 09557 PDS5P32/4/7. Here's how most people see clan elementals. They resemble men, but they're mottled gray and black flesh, and the abnormal thickness of the armored plates on their bodies mark them as alien. Their heads look like lumps raised from the shoulders as an afterthought. Yes, tiny little head. A dark V-shaped viewport passed for a face. Thick cylinders reinforced the forearms. The right arm ended in the muzzle of a laser. The left in an underslung machine gun barrel. The left hand consisted of a thumb and 2 abnormally thick fingers, and the feet looked like huge, bifurcated hooves, melded onto the legs of a smaller creature. Only when the back-mounted missile launcher fired a missile at his Phoenix Hawk did Shin realize he was looking at a suit of infantry armor instead of a living entity. 1. This is actually a quote from one of the Battletech novels. I don't remember which one it was. One of the Blood of Kerensky series. As with many things about the clans, reality is different. Okay. The clan elemental is human, a genetically bred, perfect foot soldier. Larger, more muscular, and hardier than the average human, he also has another significant advantage that we are attempting to duplicate. A unique and powerful suit of battle armor. Clan battle armor can take tremendous punishment from energy weapons, and also performs automatic first aid on any elemental that an enemy manages to hit. Just like the good old HEV suit. If the armor is breached, an as yet unknown substance inside the suit seals off the opening, covers the elemental's wound, and administers drugs so powerful that they turn the injured elemental into a battle-maddened fighting machine. Kind of amphetamines. The armor also enhances the elemental's strength, allowing him to rip sheets of armor off a mech with his hands. That is true. Jetpacks on the suits allow elementals to jump significant distances, keeping the enemy off balance. Built-in weapons usually include a small laser in the right arm, a machine gun in the left, and a detachable short-range missile launcher on the back, which would be called a one-shot weapon. So far, only the Great Death Legion has fielded significant battle-armored infantry. The Great Death power suits cannot match the clans, because Inner Sphere infantrymen lack the elemental size and strength. They're big wusses. Yes, the elementals are not very useful or fearful in this game, or most iterations of Battletech video games, unfortunately. I don't think they're that dangerous. Even in Mech Commander, they're not that exciting. But in the board game, they can rip you up. They can always come in a star of 5 elementals with 5 points. So you always get 5 of them. Okay, and that is everything in the Clan Wolf Holo-Archives. You know what that means. Clan Jade Falcon. Yes! Look! There's even more stuff to read! But that'll be for the next time. Until the next time, be excellent to each other. Queef. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. You can also interact with me on Twitter and Facebook at L1011Widebody. And if you'd like, you can pledge to sponsor me at patreon.com/L1011Widebody.